order the special meeting of the Public Arts Commission for the city of Apache Junction. Today's date is April 3rd, and the time is 6:02 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Rudy, roll call, please.
Chairman Danford.
Yes.
Vice Chair Klett.
Yes.
Commissioner Lanza.
Yes.
Commissioner Meek. Commissioner Smithson.
Yes.
For President, we have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Awesome. Let's see, the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I motion we approve the consideration of approval of agenda.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Rudy, roll call, please.
Commissioner Smithson.
Yes.
Chairman Danford.
Yes.
Vice Chair Klett.
Yes.
Commissioner Lanza.
Yes.
So moves, Chairman.
Do we have any, does the commission have any artwork to discuss tonight besides what you're here for, Paige? Nope. Public hearing. Next item is public hearing, presentation, discussion, public hearing, and recommendation to City Council of case number P23-128-Art, a proposed public art mural by artist Paige Reeser. Erica, you want to take over from here?
Paige is doing her presentation.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Again, I'm Paige Reeser. I am a muralist here in Phoenix, and I'm just going over and reviewing with some of the feedback that you guys had before, and kind of going through my vision and that process. So one of the big things that we were focusing on mainly before is when we're focusing on the highly detailed, more focal points, is making sure it really looks like it's Apache Junction, like iconic scenery. So that was the main thing, was trying to focus on, like, when you're looking around in the area around here, what do you think of? So my first one was where I have Superstition Mountain, and I always just think of, like, when you're going down that road and you're about to, like, hit that mountain, just that kind of like Southwest feel right there. Flatiron, that was actually one of my first trails I went to in Apache Junction. And then I have the Four Peaks, and then I have, I think, Massacre Falls for this part up in the Superstition Mountains. I think that's where it's at. But those are my more first detailed parts with that. And then I went back and added a couple more animals, like quails, snakes, the mountain lion. I really like this cougar one. I just think it's, I don't know. I think something with the big cats looks really cool. So I went and tried to focus more on elements instead of having three. At my original sketches, I only had 3 focal points, but I feel like I could fit in 4. And I think that will have a lot more impactful statement without also being super busy as well. So these are my main focal points. And then what I did with the rest of the sketches was figure out back. So I kind of used these for all my other sketches, but then I was figuring out different kind of backdrops for the more minimal parts of my landscape. So this one is kind of from my original one that we did, but I think the original one you guys were focusing on, since it was kind of wavy, we were like, let's try to have it look like the mountains are a little bit more stand out to like what's native to this area, maybe have some blue peaks coming out and keeping kind of with that as well. So if you were looking at the whole mural right here, I know it's a little hard to see with the little, but this is the whole one. And so like this piece right here, and then this piece right here would be like these in-between spots right here. So this is the first sketch, and I'm going to show other versions. Do we want to comment on these, or do we want to kind of go through the whole process?
Why don't you do your process?
Yeah, okay, perfect. Okay. So as we go through these, some are going to be very similar, but I'm just doing slightly edits just to kind of see a little bit more variety with the pieces. So the next one will look very similar to the first one. See, same kind of similar concepts in the middle. Just that took a lot of time, so, but I just kind of was like, okay, maybe I can have more like blue, kind of like really kind of create a more depth of feel. And I kind of just showing like, okay, maybe with the sunset, we can put this one right in the middle, and then this one can be on the sides as well. So just slight variations. I know it might be a little bit particular, but I think it's also good to have those options, especially when looking at, you know, a massive wall that this is going to be.
Paige, refresh my memory, please. This is gonna be 300 feet long?
Yeah, it's about 300, I think 300 feet long, yes, yep. But it's only about 6 feet tall, and I'm like, that's fine. So that's not, I don't need a ladder, so. Yeah, maybe a step stool. And so this next third mock-up, again, very similar to the first one, but we're kind of more, the middles are all looking the same, but now I'm just giving a variation of like, do I use the blue, these little blue waves in every single middle part? So just kind of showing.
Got it broken up with some more of the brown saguaro I noticed and the oranges.
Yeah, so it's just slight variations, but I was thinking just trying to, as a whole, you know, which out of these options would you particularly like to, you know, kind of see or go for? So I just thought, hey, let's just play around with those a little bit. And I actually, from our original sketches, I know before I had it a little bit more just like wavy. I was going to show these because I did a lot more with the animals, and I was like, you know what, these are way better. So we're just omitting that altogether and moving forward, because I like a little bit, even though it's simple, there are some spots that look have a little bit of detail, and I really like that. And I think it creates more depth behind it. And so from there, again, we're still using the same detailed animals, but now we're doing that mock-up where we did the blue that we were looking at, that we were kind of like, let's see how it would look with a whole blue background. And one thing that I was kind of hearing some parts from this where I was, remember some of the feedback was, it was a little too washed out. So I was like, if we can add a little bit of like color, almost kind of like sunset-y in between the backgrounds, I thought that could be a really kind of nice added effect. So having all the blue, but just not just being white, it would be a little bit more pops of color for the background for this one, which I do like a lot. So, but then when I was playing around with this one and thinking, okay, adding cactuses, it was not reading that well. So what I did is then made another option where I went completely from the drawing board and did a blue, kind of like, you can kind of like see like almost like the valley like that we have here in Phoenix, a little bit more where you can kind of see it like from far away, which I think when you think of like Apache Junction, if you're kind of going up on the trails, you can kind of look down and you kind of see like that depth that you have. And I felt like the cactuses fit much better in this than what I was trying to do in this original, even though I like this. Yeah. The cactuses were not feeling the same way. So going into this is where I have just blue. The reason why we're looking with blue is blue does fade. What's the word? It fades better with UV light. So it's like, as things fade, like that will stay very blue a long time. So those were just one reasons why you could do blue in between. But I do love the yellow from the first one and that like very vibrancy from that. So with that, I probably should not give any more of my input and let you guys critique this as well. So,
Question, Paige. I like the blue, and that would be in between your main elements. I see 1, 2, 3. Looking at the map of the overall diagram, there's 4 different locations where you're going to have the mountains with the animals and cactus or whatever. Is each one of those can be different, or does that have to be all 4 of those will be the same?
These little spaces of the animals?
Yeah.
Oh, they're all the same. So each of these is like their own, like this, I know it's so hard. This cougar is right over here.
So looking at that wall, there's 4 different
Yeah,
vignettes.
there's 4, yeah,
There's
there's
4 different vignettes.
4 different images.
I
Yep,
like
yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
4 that are up there are going to go down
That I
in
like.
those spots.
Yeah, so these are all,
Those, and then the others are
I like the blue
Yeah.
for the in-between ones.
The blue with the cactus or the blue without all the cactus?
I think overall, the blue is very striking, and it really pops out, surprisingly. It's also a little bit different than what we see all the time in Arizona, because we tend, if you scroll back up to your first ones, we do tend to use those colors over and over again. I love what you did in all of them. I think you came back and addressed every one of our concerns and gave us really good options on those. I think you've made it really hard to choose.
Well, that's a good point from there,
Because I
so.
and again, as an artist, I can see valid points for each of those things. There's some nice rest space for the eye. You've got those blue mountains in on the top one. On the top one, you answered, you kept what you had, and you addressed all of our concerns. And then on the other two, you gave us some more options and brought in the blues. You added a lot more animals. I see that. There's absolutely iconic, even in this, the one down on the bottom. Scroll up a little bit. No, the other way. Scroll down, I guess. That one, it looks like the cat, the shadow of the cat. Do you know about the shadow of the
Yeah,
cat?
a little bit, yes.
Cougar. So it reminds you of that. Plus, then you said you put that little cougar in there. I think those two things tie in really nicely with the legend of that shadow. There was a whole mess of cars down there the other day. So yeah, and now I'll shut up and let other people say their
Okay,
part.
what she was talking about was the blue versus, with a plain blue versus the blue with cactus.
Right,
Can we
right.
see that again, please?
It's really striking.
Okay, that's without the cacti in front.
So yeah, here's like a close-up. So one thing I feel, one thing I'm looking at, I think it's striking. It makes me think of like more of like, not a landscape per se. It makes me think of like the top of the peaks, like the top of the mountain. So it's a different perspective. Instead of being like it's a landscape, I would say it's kind of reminds me more of the peaks of that.
It reminds me of the storms and of the way the weather, the mountain is always changing. It's always changing color. And that's one of the things that we love. We sit there and we watch the sky change, and those pretty colors behind that blue coming out, and then the blue sort of bookending those little oases of detail that you've got in there. It's very, very striking. When you scroll down from all of them, that one really jumps out.
Now, the one after that has the cactus in front of the blue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
I guess we have to decide, do we want it to look more far off?
I kind of like the cactus in the
beautiful
front because
too.
it does give that
I do
depth.
too.
Yeah. It does look like you're
So when
looking
you look
right
at it,
out.
it looks like you're looking right out, the cactus is right in front of you, and then you're looking off in the mountains. I mean, what do you think?
It's a hard
I
decision.
kind of agree with you, that's the way I see that too.
So my first thought is, oh, we gotta stick with, the colors that we know, because it had a great sunset. But I do like this mock-up 5. I like the idea of it staying a little longer, the blue, lasting in the UV rays too. But you also captured, you've got the yucca plants and the other things there too. Very pretty. People would stop and look for a long time.
The contrast, I think, is what makes it so, your eyes just go, wow, yeah. Those bright colors on the cactus, the turquoise, and you contrast with that kind of blue rest space.
yeah, because then my main focal is like using a lot of oranges. So like I think from a complementary standpoint, I think it like will make these look more. My idea is I want it to be drawing your attention to these icons, where I think with this one, in my opinion, I think it's breathtaking, but then I think it becomes a little distracting. My own artwork, I'm like, I don't know. I think I feel like you're not focusing on these, where that's where I kind of want it. I still do like the original. I think that it's what the apartment complex, or not the apartment, or the what is it, living, yes.
Developers?
Yes. I think that's what they liked at first, but I think they were very kind of open. They're like, we just want a mural, so.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I like your reasoning. I think, yeah, here you're not as focused on your little, like I said, it's like a little oasis in there of the mural where you get a chance to kind of look and then go, wow, what's going on in there? So if you're walking your dog along the side of the sidewalk, you might stop and really take a moment to look at all those little details in there. But if you're driving by, then you're catching those glimpses of that stuff, but you still have that nice blue kind of movement along. It doesn't blend it, those little oases don't blend in as much with the blue.
It's like the more I look at it, the more I really do like
I'm surprised.
the number 5 mock-up
Fully
sketch 5.
surprised. Yeah.
Number 5 is the one with the cactus, and the blue with the cactus.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of,
I agree. That's one I like.
I do too. I like, look at those little misty places.
got the
That's
mountains
what I like
and the
about it. I mean,
cactus.
there's
In the
definitely,
morning, or it could be evening.
when you look out at our mountains in the morning or evening, that's exactly
Yeah.
what you see is
That's,
those mountains in the
looks like.
background
It
faded.
does.
yeah, I
That
agree with that.
Or if you turn and look towards Phoenix Way, that's what it looks like. Or down towards Santan, or if you're up on your patio, if you get up at all high, that's what it looks like across the valley.
Yeah, you look the west, and that blue one come out, that's.
It
very
could
good.
be the gold fields. Yeah, no, I think you did a really nice job. at that.
I also think another perspective.
She's
I mean, I
gonna give us more
love,
choices.
I do love the first one. I think it's like a very bold. I like it because it's bold and it stands out. But do we need a 300-foot mural that's extremely bold? It's already going to be such impact. Where I think this blue is it looks very calming to me. I didn't really think about that before, but I feel like looking at this, I'm just focusing on the detail a lot.
Well, Gretchen pointed out earlier that with the blue in between the major vignettes, it gives your eyes a chance to rest.
And a movement across.
You know, you get to
this
move
way.
from one, then your eyes rest, you move to the next one, your eye, of course, if we got people driving up the trail, driving that road at 80 miles an hour, that ain't gonna matter, but.
But when they're driving by, what's gonna happen is when you're driving, you don't want something so busy that you just see a blur of color. What you're gonna see is, ooh, there's something here that I'm curious about that I might want to go look at closer at another time. Or, you kind of get that, I get the impression while I'm driving by the blue, what's coming up? Oh, I can look forward here and see that bit of that mural as I come by it.
Paige?
So it allows the driver a little more safely
Since
to
Commissioner
look
Meek
at it.
is running a little bit behind time, could you walk,
Sorry, yeah.
real quickly
Yeah.
walk through the options?
All right. So here are, I would love to hear your input. Maybe we'll keep our voice, keep our, I always like a person without knowing something coming into it. So I have provided 5 mock-ups. Some are actually very similar and some are kind of different.
Right, I did review them.
Okay.
I picked this up earlier, so.
Perfect.
I haven't had a chance to look at everything.
So perfect. So basically these I would like to call them, what are we going, the focal points? The focal point, these will be in the same of all 5. I did a lot of trying to focus on very iconic Apache Junction, scenery, things that when you look at it, you're like, this is exactly this landscape of this area. And then it added a few more animals with, of course, a cougar. I did not add an animal on this side. I felt like it didn't balance well, but I don't know. I just feel like I just wanted the cougar was just the main point, or mountain lion. So with these images, these first 3 are very similar with the in-between parts. That's the parts in between the focal point and the kind of like the landscapes in between that. And these areas will change as we go. So it just slightly gives you different options. So this one, from the original sketch that I had it in a little bit more of a wave, where I then made them more mountain peaks, and then added a couple little areas where they had a little bit more detail and a focal point behind it a little bit. So just some areas where it's like, okay, it looks like basically it looks like the area around us. And then I just am giving slightly different, one with a little bit of blue mountains. This is kind of from the feedback that was given out, like, hey, how would it look if we added some blue peaks behind it?
Right.
And I just gave different options of like how that would look like maybe if we just had that in the middle here. And then the next option was I just did the blue in like every single one. Probably get rid of the sun, at least one of them, but that was just an option. And then here is where we really loved this from our last time that we had our meeting. One thing that people were saying was that it felt like it was unfinished. It felt like too sketchy. It felt too, unpolished. So I was like, well, let's play with a little bit of color in the backdrop. And I felt like just even adding just a little bit of color and kind of taking some of the mountain peaks and making it a little bit darker in blue, I thought made it really pop and stand out. But then one thing I had issues with is that I feel like this is more of the peaks of the mountains. This is not the base of the landscape. So I felt like when I was drawing cactuses, it was not, you just don't have the same feel. So kind of depends if you want that, that the peaks of the mountain, if that's kind of something, hey, it's a different perspective, something that where a lot of people don't look at, that could be a different option. But then I was like, I kind of want to do something from my first ones. I was playing around with color in here and it wasn't doing it the way I wanted. Like I was like, okay, if I just drop some blue, how that looks. So I was like, I had to go back to the drawing board and I actually created this one where it's just, kind of makes me think of like the valley here. If you're gonna go take a trail and you're kind of looking down and you can kind of see the layers of mountains from the distance. And of course, adding some of the cactuses in the foreground and then having even some that are a little bit like trickling as they go further back. So so these are the kind of the options. One thing that we were saying is that we like the boldness of this one. Blue can tend to be a little bit better when it comes to UV light and fading. Blue's a little bit of a better saturation when it comes to that. So its longevity, it will probably last a little bit longer when it comes to that too. And that was my quick spiel.
Yeah, I actually do like the color, like sketch 5, the color, and then the more muted stuff, and then another pop of color. And I like the depth of the cactus and the mountains, the different levels, because when you're driving out the trail, you see levels of mountains. So that's very reminiscent of what we experience when we're just enjoying the area.
Yeah.
The
I think
mornings
the
or
whole-
the evenings.
I think sketch number 5 catches the area really well.
Yes, agree with you.
Yeah.
I was just talking to
So
I
we
don't
might
know if
have
we
a
need to
decision.
vote.
Okay, well, we don't have a public discussion. I was told we could skip that part, so I guess we go right to a vote. Who likes which option? Rudy, you want to do a roll call here?
Mr. Mayor, we do have one person who
Wanna
might
do-
want to speak.
We do have a person. Did you-
Oh, I didn't know she was going to weigh in on it.
Yeah,
You
I would
wanna- You want to
love,
weigh in on it?
I would love,
Well, can you come to
There
the,
you go.
oh, come to the board.
can you open up the public hearing?
Oh, yeah,
So I now open the public hearing. I now open the public hearing portion.
we like public participation.
Name and address.
No.
Yes,
Address?
them's the rules.
Okay. My formal name? Okay, I'm Gail McFarland. My address is 3299 South Conestoga, and of course, that's in AJ. And I'm very impressed with Paige's work. I've seen her, on Instagram for quite a while, and she's fabulous. What she has up there, I'm sure she's going to do the same image, the same quality on the mural. Personally, I like number 5 too, and I like the fact that it does give your eye a place to focus and a quiet space for your eyes and you to soften before you go to the next one. So I really like that whole concept.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you very much, Ms. McFarland. So now we close the public hearing portion. I guess we can actually vote on this then. Do we all, we want to vote? So Rudy, can you do a roll call of the vote?
Has there been a motion?
We have
Somebody
to
needs
do
to
a
make a
motion.
motion.
I make a motion to vote on which design we want. Do you want to just call them out by like the number?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Sounds good. Anybody second that?
I second.
Rudy, roll call?
Did you call out which number you,
So,
are we
oh, no,
voting?
You
on
specifically state it, right? She would state.
I'm sorry?
I think she
Wait.
asked if we could, if you would want to number each one and we vote on it,
Oh.
And so then
I think-
if,
or do we do it the other way?
Just do the specific
Or you
one.
can vote on the number you want? So you want to vote on them individually? Is that what I'm
no,
understanding?
we don't, I don't know how would you like to say
If,
which number?
I mean, obviously, there can be discussion amongst the commission members, and maybe you come to a consensus of which one you like the best, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then somebody makes a motion for option number X.
Oh, okay.
So
And-
Joel?
I'm sorry.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
I did actually include a recommended motion in the staff report, if you want to go ahead
gotta
and
pull
use
that.
that.
I didn't
I
bring
saw
it.
one in there and
I was gonna say,
So-
there's one question, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I have this one question, like, do we want to give them options, or is it just one, is that what, like, what's the
Yeah,
process
that's a good
usually?
question, because like, if all of us in this room, including the artist, is happy with what we come up with here, and then we go to them and give them an option, and they go another way, is that what we want or not, you know? Yeah. What do you
I mean,
guys think?
I'm,
I mean, we
I'm
can
happy at
discuss
least with
that as a
2 or
group.
3. I actually like them all, but.
I would prefer that we pick one and recommend it.
Yeah.
I think that might simplify things.
I think so
That's, I
too.
agree with you.
Because we've spent a lot of time looking at these, and like I said, the very first sketches, I was like, ooh, immediately, because I'm thinking the basic colors that we always associate with Apache Junction, but now that we've really broke it down, all the elements, I think we're all in agreement that mock-up sketch 5 is what we want. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Would somebody like to make a motion then?
So I make a motion that we recommend
Erica, did you have
to,
a script to read?
I thought we did, but I couldn't find it. Let's use it. Okay.
So it does include variations 1
Okay.
5, but if you don't want
Okay.
to include the variations, just select the option.
Okay. I move that the Public Art Commission recommend to the Apache Junction City Council the approval of option, no, we're going to go with variation 5?
Option 5.
Option 5. And that we move, okay, I'm going to start that again. I want to get this right. I move that the Public Art Commission recommend to the Apache Junction City Council the approval of option 5 submitted by the applicant for the proposed mural along the wall facing Tomahawk Road for the new 201-unit multifamily development known as the Residences at Apache Trail, located on the southwest corner of Broadway Avenue and Tomahawk Road, subject to the following conditions of approval, which is the should I read that too?
You don't have to have
Okay.
conditions of approval if you don't want to. These are staff recommended conditions of approval.
Okay, so under conditions of approval, it's kind of everything that we've talked about. There's a whole
Those have
paragraph
already been
there.
agreed upon
Yeah.
by the developer and
Yeah.
the city staff, right? The conditions?
So we did not specifically speak with the developer about the time frame of being at least 15 years, and that would be up to you guys, to the commission.
Okay, so
Investment plan.
maybe I'll just read this out so you know what we're talking about. So it says, the execution of a proper contract with the city outlining at minimum the art installation timeline, language to maintain like new conditions for at least 5 years, inclusion of the responsible party for the maintenance and duration of that maintenance, even upon sale, measures to fix damage, conditions for potential replacement if the mural is damaged by more than 50%, potential replacement if the mural fades before 15 years after installation.
I
So that,
second.
okay,
Joel, does that work?
okay.
Okay, we've come up with a motion and a second. Rudy, roll
Sorry,
call?
Mr. Chairman, who was the second? Catherine, okay. Commissioner Meek,
Yes.
Commissioner Smithson,
Yes.
Chairman Danford,
Yes.
Vice Chair Klatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Lanza.
Yes,
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Rudy, so now what's the next step then? We have to, who's going to submit this to the city council?
We will schedule this for city council, and we will let you know what that date is. Erica, do you have a date picked out yet?
No, I'm at conferences and.
Oh, that's right. Okay, we will
So-
schedule it for the soonest possible council meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, then who will make the presentation to the city council, Paige or us?
Paige should be there. We'll do a brief presentation. Paige can do her presentation, and then council can deliberate
Awesome.
and hopefully follow your recommendation. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
And do you want us there, some of us there?
Well, I will be there anyway.
Okay,
Well, I'll be there.
okay.
Joel, actually, all of us could show up as long as we're not all clustered together in the same. Yeah. So you sit there, I sit there.
No, I have a seat over there.
Okay.
Sit in her seat.
We just can't cluster them together. It's like we're having a meeting.
We have our usual seats on Tuesday nights.
Oh. What's Tuesday?
City council.
Oh, okay, you always come to those, okay.
Which is good.
I haven't been to a council meeting in a long time.
We're good?
And so
I
this
think
will
you mentioned it
be on
to
a
Paige,
Tuesday most
that it'll
likely,
show up,
right?
Monday she'll show up for the work session and present it to council, and then Tuesday they actually vote on it, right? Oh, okay, okay, okay. And you'll keep us all apprised of those dates,
Yes, sir.
I assume?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, it looks like we're on to, is there any old business to discuss?
No, sir.
Is there any new business to discuss?
If we run out in the next couple of minutes, we might be able to see the cougar on the mountain. This is the week that it.
This is the week for it.
Yes.
Well, any information reports from anyone? Rudy, do you have anything else to report?
No, sir.
How are we coming on all the other issues we're looking at? The vinyl wraps and stuff like
The
that?
SOQ has gone out. It closes, I believe, on the 15th. So we hope to have at least 8 artists apply for the SOQ was for the banners at the library, the utility box wraps, and the windows at the multi-gen.
Okay, cool.
So hopefully we'll get a good selection of.
Hear that,
entries.
Paige? All right. Girl.
Any items we'd like to discuss at future meetings? Anybody wants to add anything to the agenda? Okay, selection of meeting times and dates. I'll bring up, is there a reason for us to meet at the normal, next normal meeting in April?
No.
Or we just wait till our May meeting comes up?
Yeah, the May meeting, yeah.
Do we need to vote on that, Rudy?
You don't have to.
You sure?
Yeah.
Joel?
Yeah, it's regularly scheduled anyway.
Okay, so we're not gonna do our regular scheduled meeting in April, which is
Right,
next
right.
week.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I now adjourn the meeting at 6:37.
Okay.